Retro.
Yeah.
Electro. Tech.
Oh yeah.
Hey, turn the lights back on. Wow. Retro Electro Tech. When real audio ruled the world.
Well, hello there once again, all you lovely ladies and gentlemen. This is Retro Ernest of Retro Electro Tech. And on the bench is a model 2250 Marantz. Now, this is just going to be a super quickie just to verify a complaint of a possible channel issue. So I've had this unit for a while. I just want to get the initial complaint verified so that I know what course of action I'm going to be taking as far as if the channel issue is unrelated to the controls. If it's something with the controls, intermittent controls, dirty controls, then a different story. If it is something that looks like it's more than just related to the controls, maybe a deeper connection issue or something with a failed or failing component or components, then I will probably end up doing, or not probably, I will end up doing a second video going into a deeper troubleshooting video beyond just function testing and controls, in other words. So first thing I'm going to do real quick is just pop the hood and take a look inside, make sure there isn't anything alarming in there, anything scary, whatever, before plugging it in and attempting a safe power up. Get a signal in it and get it on the scope and check it out, see if I have both channels, start playing around with some of the controls and observe whether or not there's any artifact, anything that looks ugly on the waveforms that's being produced by the controls, or if there's any dropping out of the signal on one or both channels, stuff like that, intermittent behavior. So let's go ahead and get to it. Alright, so here's a quick look at the top side innards without removing these covers, of course, and that's okay. I just want to take an initial look to see if there's anything that looks alarming right off the bat. And on the top side there isn't, so let me flip around to the bottom side. Alright, and here we are looking into the bottom side innards, and everything is looking normal based on what I can see thus far. So good enough as far as getting the power up going and go from there. So let me go ahead and do just that. And here's a look around back. Everything's looking good. Everything's looking normal. Okay. All right. Except the only thing that I noticed right off the bat is that we don't have the jumpers in place, the preamp out, main amp in. Anyways, not a big deal. I'll throw some jumpers in there during testing, and yeah, again, the complaint is a channel issue. So if it was on account of this, it would probably, the customer would have told me that there's just no audio. It's just, dead. If he, forgot to put the jumpers in and was turning it on and wondering why he wasn't getting any sound. But yeah, that's not the case here. But anyways, while I'm back here, let me go ahead and check the fuse. We should have a 5 amp 250 volt fuse. Let's see if the correct fuse is in place. And let me see what I have. Might have to get my magnifier out. No, actually I don't. I could see that. Yep, it's a 5 amp 250 volt fuse. Okay, so everything went well with the safe power up. I didn't want to get into that, show it, talk about it. Not this time around because I'm really in a hurry. So anyways, but everything did good. And we're looking at the DC on the right channel. It's kind of bouncing around a bit, but it's still looking pretty good. So let me go ahead and see what our our left channel is doing. Okay. All right, we're looking a little bit better there. We have lower DC. Let me go ahead and get a signal in this thing and see how both channels are looking, our waveforms, as I already explained, and go from there. Okay, so here we are at the scope. I have a signal piped in, a 1 kilohertz tone, at line level, and you can see that I don't have one of the channels. That's the right channel that's kaput. Just real quick, in the interest of time, so I don't go on with just rolling footage while I'm playing around with controls and all that, let me just give you the lay of the land here. So here's the control layout, the pots and various switches. So I'm just going to go through and start manipulating these switches and pots and so forth, and see if anything I do here causes that channel to spring back to life. So this is an area of some missing video footage where I was just essentially explaining that I determined the problem to be on the preamp side of things. So that's really about it. Let me go ahead and get back to the video. Okay, so once I determined that the problem was on the preamp side of things, I wanted to, of course, get into this board and start checking things over. So from, signal coming in, signal going out, that sort of thing. So from the balance and volume pot controls, whatever up here, signal is carried to the board via this connector. I think pins 1 and 3 bring signal in. 6 and 7 is where signal exits. So signal coming in arrives at these preamplifier ICs. I think they're BC321s. From these ICs, from the outputs, I scope those, of course, and both channels via these outputs here are symmetrical. They're fine. So after signal leaves these ICs, it ends up at this tone mode switch. So the tone mode switch, these type of switches are kind of known to be problematic once they start having issues with tarnish and oxidation, and this one was badly tarnished. And I did try to clean it up a bit, sprayed it with some contact cleaner, got a little micro brush and cleaned things up. It's a little bit better, but I can still see a lot of oxidation and tarnish. This whole assembly needs to be desoldered from the board. These phenolic sections or boards, wafers, whatever you want to call them, need to be pulled apart, separated. Everything needs to be cleaned with something that has more bite to it, something like Tarnex, and maybe even a little scratch pin, get in there, and some brushes, and really clean up all these contacts. Yeah, all that needs to be checked. Make sure nothing's bent out of position, that everything's making firm contact. Just check all that kind of stuff out. What I'm arriving at is that when signal leaves the outputs of these preamplifier ICs, it arrives at the tone mode switch, but when it exits the switch, when I pick off signal as it exits, that right channel is diminished. It's kaput at that point. So that's why I'm about 90% sure at this point that once I get this switch deep cleaned, our problem will be resolved. Now, where signal exits, the switch and all that, there's a lot going on in here with, for the purpose of tone modification and all that. So there's a lot of components involved, and I was spot checking as many as I could, just quick down and dirty spot checking, but I didn't really want to go too much further on that. I do need to get into that a little bit deeper, just in case there's something else going on as well, a failing component, a component that's out of tolerance, but I didn't want to go too much deeper because I need to get the approval from the customer is the point. I can't just keep going and going and then hear from the customer that he doesn't want me to go on. So until I know for sure he's committed, he wants to go for it, this is about where I'm going to stop. And at this point, like I said, I'm about 90% sure of what's going on. And I'm going to demonstrate that. I'm going to probe a few spots that I talked about and pan over to the scope, let you kind of see what's going on. So let me go ahead and show you what that's all about and go from there. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to probe pins 1 and 3 first, signal coming in, and then the 6 and 7 signal leaving the board, and let you just see right from there what's going on before going into it a little further. Okay, so let's take a look at signal coming in, and if things get a bit jumpy or I slip off the solder joint here on the back, I'm being careful so I don't short anything out, but and that little jitter there you see going on, that's the shop light overhead, that LED light. It's causing that problem. It introduces noise. Okay, so there's one channel. Here's the other channel right here. Obviously I don't have two scope probes hooked up to each channel because I have nothing to clip onto anyways, nor do I need to do that. But so here's again one channel, here's the next channel, and you can see we have symmetrical waveforms entering the board. Now let me show you what's going on. We'll start with our left channel. Let me bring that down. Okay, this is what's leaving the board, our left channel. Here's that right channel. Okay. Left channel, right channel. So now what I'm going to probe is the outputs of those two preamplifier ICs, and those are what come before the signal is fed into that tone mode switch, pretty much. So okay, there's one, and here's the other. So again, both channels symmetrical. And this is the signal I'm getting just before the signal leaves the board, just prior to the series resistor and coupling cap that feeds the compound pair on the affected channel. There's a compound pair or Zeekley pair, and just before that, of course, you have the coupling cap and the series resistor. So just before all that, this is a signal all the way through from there. So like I said, you know, there's more tracing that I could do to narrow down exactly where and what is causing this issue, as far as, you know, the exact component or components, if there is some other components involved in this signal collapsing. But like I said, I think the majority of it has to do with the you know, the tone mode switch. Also too, and let me just go ahead and change views here. So as I was mentioning a little bit earlier, there's more things that should be done since the problem is on this board. And like I said, I think the bulk of the problem is within the switching contacts and all that. But again, it would be a good idea to pull these controls off the board, give them a really deep servicing, check them with the analog meter, run them through their ranges, make sure there's not anything funky going on with these controls, which I didn't see any evidence of that, but still, I'd like to pull the controls off the board, all of them, and especially this one, give it a deep clean, spot check components, and again, recap the board. So just go through and do a good thorough job and make sure that this board is nice and clean and it's passing signal in a nice you know, clean manner, that nothing's hindering signal, nothing else anyways, and go from there. Anyways, I want to get the green light, so I'm going to end it here for now. And as I always say, peace, love, music, and the vintage audio that brings it to your ears. Till next time, y'all take care.
This has been a Spinning Head production.